I have this strange ability. I can remember the lyrics to a song I haven't heard in 3 years, but I can't remember what I had for lunch a few days ago. I can recall my Netflix password from 2018, but the name of someone I just met 10 minutes ago, gone. A day after a lesson is taught in class, I usually forget everything that we learned. But I don't think I'm alone though. I feel like all our brains are weird like that. We remember awkward moments, funny conversations, and fun events, but we tend to forget homework, deadlines, and class content. And this isn't just a me problem, it's a learning problem. Today, we have access to more technology and knowledge than ever, but somehow we're still learning less. So you might ask, why is this happening? Because we forgot the true concept of learning. It isn't about obtaining answers. It's about how we ask questions, how we reflect, and how we struggle. And the scary part is, we're forgetting how to do that. In our world, we've forgotten entire forms of ancient learning systems. And today, I want to shift our focus towards reviving these ancient learning systems. Systems that are just as smart, efficient, and effective towards learning. So what really was learning about? To find out, let's go back to a time without Wi-Fi, before smartboards, before AI. Because the truth is, we didn't always learn like this. Let's start with the Socratic method from ancient Greece, where students didn't just passively sit down and take notes all day during class. Instead, they created open-minded discussions where they asked questions. Big ones, hard ones that didn't have simple answers. And it's not just ancient Greece. India had the Gurukul system where students resided in their teachers' homes. Imagine getting a bad grade and being told to wash your teacher's dishes rather than doing a remedial or some extra credit work. In this system, students had to learn through observation, daily ritual, mentorship, and discipline. It wasn't about exams, but rather becoming a person of character. That's the Gurukul system. They don't have detention. They have chores. Now let's not forget the apprenticeship model in medieval Europe. In medieval Europe and across many cultures, students learn by working alongside masters in trades, medicine, or arts. Instead of finishing the course, the goal was mastery, which included hours of patience, intuition, dedication, and failure. These ancient systems may not be as fast, but they were human. They were built of dialogue, memory, mentorship, creativity, and trust, not algorithms or automation. These systems did not have 5G data, AI, Spotify music, or hours of online research spent on one single assignment. But somehow, these systems are producing deeper learners than what we're producing today. Even though these systems may seem slightly harsh, they were actually very human in nature, even engaging and fun. Back then, we used to learn through questioning, storytelling, and making mistakes without the fear of being graded into oblivion. But then, something happened. We got faster, more efficient, and in trying to make learning easier, we made it emptier. Nowadays, rather than truly learning concepts, we're just completing tasks. Modern learning is like watching a movie trailer and then claiming you've seen the entire movie. But the consequences of this shift aren't just academic, they're neurological. Because when we trade deep thinking for instant answers from AI, it starts to change how our brains work. When you outsource the learning process long enough, you eventually forget how to do it yourself. Every time we get an answer from AI, we receive a dopamine hit. Dopamine is the hormone that's supposed to motivate us to explore, to solve problems, and feel rewarded after effort. but we're getting the reward without doing the work. And that's rewiring our brains. And that's making us avoid struggling. We're starting to replace the satisfaction of solving a problem by skipping it, and our brains are confusing the two. We can denominate this as the AI cycle. We're at a strange point in history where we believe in something that says powered by AI in bright blue bold text over ancient knowledge. We like to discredit ancient knowledge because we think it's full of myths, outdated, or obsolete. Instead, we would believe in some random dude on YouTube explaining the study hack that changed my life, acting like he's Albert Einstein or someone. But if your grandma gives you advice from her life experience, you'd reply, okay, boomer. However, these ancient systems calculated entire planetary orbits, distance from the sun to the moon, and tracked time, all without the use of technology. Fast forwarding to today's modern education, for most teenagers, school feels like being in a hostage situation, but with more homework, less snacks, and somehow more emotional damage than that one sad Disney movie. Among university students surveyed in the US, 44% reported symptoms of depression, 30% had anxiety, and 15% seriously committed suicide within the last year. Our current education has become like this one saying: if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life thinking it's stupid. Now imagine a place where everyone is a different animal. The bird is acing everything at the top, the monkey's chilling on top of the tree, but the fish, he's here at the bottom, flopping around, wondering why no one taught him how to swim instead of climb a tree. It's like making a penguin run a 100-meter race and then writing lacks motivation on his report card just because he couldn't run. Now listen, I'm not here to call us society. I've also experienced some of my own tragic moments. Right before my boards, I told myself that I would lock in. No distractions, just pure focused study. So I made a plan. And that plan was ask ChatGPT literally everything about my syllabus. And this is what most people do. Because why read an entire textbook when you can just go into ChatGPT and type, explain trigonometry like I'm 5 years old, but I also have to prepare for finals. The satisfaction and information provided by ChatGPT had me resorting to it every single time. In fact, I probably shouldn't admit this, but I almost tried using ChatGPT to help me write the speech. But while I researched on this topic, I realized that all this time I wasn't revising. I was just copy-pasting answers into my brain and hoping it would perform. Due to ChatGPT's help, I stopped struggling altogether. I didn't try to solve problems. I skipped to the solutions. I didn't sit with confusion. I closed the tab and I moved on. I wasn't building the habit of thinking anymore. And that's when I made a decision to stop relying on it. These systems weren't just ancient museum pieces, but are things that can actually be brought back today. Currently, there are many ancient systems all over the world where students are using it right now. Instead of starting the class with the Google Slides presentation, what if it started with a heated debate? Did the British really civilize India, or just steal our stuff and leave us with traffic and tea addiction? Even now, schools like Acton Academy from the US are using these ancient learning systems where they create open-minded discussions, where they ask questions. Finland is doing it too. They ditched serious and straightforward subjects and also created open-minded discussions. It's not a throwback, but rather bringing something ancient and applying it into our current education. It's like a remix. Ancient learning, but a modern Spotify playlist. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. but involve me and I learn. Ancient wisdom was clear, to involve people in activities. So why are we still testing people on things they never got to touch, break, or build? And that's the problem. We've turned education into something we watch, memorize, and submit. We say we want more information, but break it down in formation means something that is still being shaped inside us. Yet we expect to be informed the moment we receive knowledge from a website. No time to reflect, just receive and move on. We say we're students, but the word students comes from studier, to be devoted, focused, and eager to pursue. Today, we chase shortcuts, panic at open-ended questions, and are bored in class. Where's the devotion in that? Even the word lesson comes from leger, to read, but to also to gather, to choose, and to understand. But right now, how much are we really choosing to understand versus just trying to finish? The word graduate usually marks the end of a story, but it originated from the word gratis, which means a step forward. The truth is, these words still remember who we are, but we forgot the whole point. We've dressed learning in the right language, but we stripped away its meaning. We've built a system that collects facts, but forgets how to pause, and forgets how to feel wonder. A system that can solve equations, but struggles to sit with the single why. A system that struggles to teach us how to pause and take a break. A system that can solve equations, but it isn't teaching us what we really need to know. Steve Jobs dropped out of college not because he didn't value learning, but because the system couldn't keep up with how much he wanted to explore. Malala fought for her right to go to school, not for the grades, but for the chance to think and the chance to grow. But listen, here's the good news. Just like understanding the actual meaning of these words, we can acknowledge and apply the ancient learning systems. And no, this isn't about going back in time, but rather bringing back the depth, the mindset, the techniques that they used. The future won't belong to the people with the cleanest test scores, fastest typers, or the ability to memorize and prompt well. It will belong to those who truly understand learning and take advantage of it, who sees value in the process and not just the product. So in a world full of instant answers, be the question that takes time. Thank you.